Hi everyone, my name is Kanishka Fernando. Today I'm going to present my teaching resource for the children aged between 3 to 5 years. So the project that I have developed is Storytelling Stones, which is associated with National Narrative Week. First of all, I will introduce a bit about the event and its background. National Narcotic Week is an event which celebrates the history, culture, and achievements of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. It promotes cultural diversity, respect, and inclusion in Australian society. In early childhood education, introducing this helps children develop a sense of belonging and identity in which it links to the early years learning framework. So in the next slide, I'll explain the materials that I use to create my teaching resource. My planned teaching resource was Indigenous Storytelling Stones. As you can see in the pictures, the materials that I used was smooth stones, water-based paint, a paintbrush, and a basket for keeping those stones. So I collected the stones from a nearby natural park, and the paint and the basket were purchased from Kmart, which was cheap. And these materials are simple, safe, and suitable for learning. So in the next slide, I'll explain why I chose storytelling stones as my resource. So the main reason why I chose storytelling stones is because they support children's imagination and of course storytelling skills. They encourage communication and language development, which is very important in early childhood education. So this is also inspired by the Aboriginal storytelling traditions as well. It supports play-based learning, where children can learn through explorations and also develops creativity among them. So in the next slide, I'll show the process how I created this resource. It wasn't too difficult to create this resource. First, I collected smooth stones and then I cleaned them properly and I prepared the stones, ensuring that they were safe for the children to use. And after that, I painted symbols on the stones and allowed it to dry. And finally, I placed them in a basket for storage. In the next slide, I'll show and explain the final resource. The final resource is a set of storytelling stones that I created using hand-painted symbols. As shown in the pictures, I painted simple and recognizable symbols such as kangaroo, tree, sun, water, and a footprint. So these symbols were intentionally chosen to be easy for children aged from 3 to 5 years to recognize and use during storytelling. The stones are stored in a basket, which makes them easier to access and organize in a classroom setting as well. This result supports language development as children describe and build stories using the symbols. It also encourages imagination and creativity as each children can create their own unique story. Additionally, it promotes social interaction when children engage in collaborative storytelling with their peers. In this slide, I'll explain how this resource supports Indigenous perspectives. This resource introduces children to Aboriginal storytelling traditions in a respectful way. It promotes respect for First Nation cultures and encourages cultural awareness. It also supports inclusive education by helping children understand and appreciate diversity. Now I'll explain the teaching strategies I would use with this resource. To support children's learning, I would use teaching strategies such as asking open-ended questions. For example, I might ask, "What's happening in your story?" or "What comes next?" So I would also encourage collaboration by allowing children to create stories together. So this is something uh, early years learning framework outcome 5, which focuses on communication. And I would also create an inclusive and supportive environment where all children can feel safe, confident, and inclusive. Now that we have come to the end of the presentation, so in conclusion, this teaching resource supports children's creativity, communication, and cultural awareness through play-based learning. It also reflects inclusive teaching practices, which helps children develop important social and language skills. This task helped me understand how to design meaningful learning experiences in early childhood education. And these are the references that I used for the presentation. And I'll wrap up the presentation from this slide. Thank you.